All right, let's start off by everybody introducing themselves, and we'll go with Brad, who's the vice president, and the chair, Jenna, and then we'll just go around to everybody else. Brad, you want to start us off?
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks, Elois, and thanks everybody for attending the training this afternoon. I really appreciate it. I know one of the great joys of the VP president-elect role is this one right here. So it's the one really one of the most important tasks of what we do to get our volunteers squared away for the year, and really I know it's an intense amount of work and it happens in a really short period of time. And I cannot thank you all enough for your willingness to serve on this and to help with this important task. We are all learning together, however. I have seen these spreadsheets twice, which was to appoint your committee and the executive one so that we'd have a slate for folks to vote on. So I only am two committees ahead of y'all when it comes to this process. So very much looking forward to this, and thanks so much for being here today.
Jenna?
Yeah, thanks, Brad, for that. It is such a pleasure to meet you virtually. I am Jenna Patera, instruction librarian at Union College in upstate New York. This is my second year on the committee and my first year as chair. I'm really eager to work with all of you. The appointments process can be a little bit confusing, but I think that somehow last year I mastered it, so I'm here for your questions. And while it is a lot of work, it's also, I think, very meaningful work to see what your colleagues are up to and what their passions are for service.
Okay. I can't see so somebody want to go next? And once you go, then call out the other person's name who you would like to go after you.
Paul,
My name. Oh, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Constance.
No,
Why don't you go first?
go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
I'm Paul Campbell. I am an assistant professor at Kent State University. I'm a social science and assessment librarian. So this is my first time on this committee for ACRL, and I'll call out Constance.
Thank you. That's my alma mater, so nice to meet you. I am a circulation and user services librarian at the University of Iowa. This is my first time on this committee, and I look forward to working with everyone. Brandon? Sorry, it's hard to see everyone. Brandon?
Hi, I'm Brandon, the library manager at Fortis College Centerville. Just another chair. This is my first committee. And I guess Paul?
I think Paul went, so I believe I'm last. Is that correct? My name is Elois Sharp, and I am the staff liaison for the appointments committee, and I'm a program officer at ACRL. All right, and I want to ditto what Brad said. We so appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to volunteer for this very important committee. I think all committees are important, but the appointments committee is extremely important because you are the group of individuals who are going to be making the decisions as to who making recommendations as to who will serve on all the other committees in this coming term. So thank you so very much. And thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. All right, this is what we're going to cover. We want to understand the ACRL division level committee's appointments process. We want to make sure that you have a great understanding of that. How to check for eligibility in the appointment system. How to use your Google Drive committee worksheets to actually make recommendations. And then how to send an official appointment offer to a member. Here is a general overview of the appointments process. The volunteer forum, as everyone knows, opened on December the 1st, and it is going to close tomorrow, February 28, 2025. You'll be making appointments for the upcoming term with appointments that will begin on July 1st, 2025. And we want you to please wait to review volunteers until ACR staff gives the all clearance next week. I'm going to work on some additional information that I need to have ready for you. So wait until I send all that information to you next week via email before you attempt to start doing anything else after this training. I'd like to know if this timeline is going to work for everybody. Of course, the volunteer forum launched on December the 1st. It's going to close tomorrow, February 28th. And then, as I stated, the week of March 3rd, I'm going to send you some additional information like the entire volunteer list so you can have that information. And then the chair's recommendations. So you'll have that information in one central location. We want to have a deadline that you have all of your worksheets completed by March 28th. And then we want Brad to have time to look over all of those and approve them by April the 25th. And then our goal is to have all of the acceptances or declines done by May 16th, 2025. So here's a recap. Wait until I send you the additional information next week before you start doing anything. And then you want to use the volunteer responses and the recommendations from the current chairs to make your suggestions in the Google Drive. After you complete your recommendations, please notify Brad before March 28th, and it's okay to let him know if you finish your worksheets earlier. Brad will then go into Google Drive to approve, deny, or recommend an alternative. And after reviewing your worksheets, he will email you to confirm that it's okay for you to start sending out the actual official appointment offers. Once you do that, you want to go into your Google Worksheets and you want to start making comments. If somebody declines the offer, you want to let us know that in the worksheet. And if they accept the offer, that needs to be documented in the worksheet as well. The appointment system is going to generate an email to the appointee, and you will be copied on that email. You want to check the email to see if it has my name copied on it. And if it doesn't, I'm going to ask that you please forward those emails to me, because once you finish your work, I still have to do some additional work after all these appointments are either accepted or declined. To finalize the appointment, the appointee is going to have to actually accept the appointment offer via the link that's going to be sent to them in the email. And then once someone accepts, as I stated, you want to update your Google Drive worksheet with that information. And if they decline, you want to reach out to Brad to see if an alternative is needed. Now, before I move on, I want to make sure and ask the group, does this timeline seem feasible to everybody? You can unmute
Yes.
yourself, yes, no?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. And
Sounds
this
good
is
to me.
tentative if we need additional time, because, sometimes people don't always respond expeditiously to emails. So we may have to drag this on a little bit further if necessary, but we want to keep as close to this timeline as possible. There are a few key roles for making appointments, and these rules are in place to allow more opportunities for a greater number of members. So appointees can only serve 5 consecutive years on a specific committee. So before adding a recommendation in your Google Drive, you want to check the appointment system to ensure that the person has not already served 5 years on the committee that you would like to recommend them for. And also, appointees can only serve on 3 concurrent groups, and that includes ALA, division level committees, and sections. So again, you want to view the volunteers' information in the appointment system before you recommend them, to make sure that they haven't served on that specific committee for 5 consecutive years, and then they are not currently serving on 3 committees or sections already. And you want to remember that Brad is the appointing authority. So please, and I can't emphasize this enough, do not send any appointment offers until he has approved them in Google Drive. And as everyone knows, ACRL has a commitment to EDI. That's our core commitment. And so you, as the appointment committee members, you should seek to offer leadership and service opportunities to members with this committee in mind. I meant to say commitment in mind. All right. As I stated earlier, you're going to receive a few reference materials to assist you with your work and to ensure that these guidelines are followed. These lists will be sent to you next week. I can't emphasize that enough. Share recommendations that can guide you for reappointments, but we have informed the chairs that their recommendations are not necessarily guarantees. So I don't want you to feel that you're obligated to appoint someone specifically because the chair recommended them. You want to take those recommendations into consideration, but you do not need to feel obligated to appoint someone simply because the chair recommended them for reappointment. And then the volunteer list that's going to include everybody who volunteered for the division level committees this cycle. Let me say this, the volunteer list that you're going to be exposed to is confidential. Please do not divulge the information to anybody. This information is for you to work on as a group. If a committee chair or member requests to see one, just simply send me an email and I will deal with that. All right, let's go over the volunteer list. As I stated, you're going to see the volunteer list for all of the volunteers for this particular cycle. And I plan to share the entire volunteer list with you the week of March the 3rd, so you can reference all the volunteers on one list and you're not all over the place trying to find somebody. And the volunteer list is going to include the individual's names and all the information that they revealed on the particular form when they filled it out. And we'll go into greater details in that later. The Google worksheets. These are the worksheets that you're going to be using to make your appointments. Now, this particular slide, it lists all of the ACRL division level committees for which this group is going to be making appointments for, with the exception of the Immersion Program Committee. That committee is still on pause, but there is no worksheet for it. But I simply just included it in here because it is a division level committee. They're simply on pause for this year again. This is what your Google worksheets are going to look like. Now, as I stated, each committee has its own worksheet in Google Drive. Your initials are next to the committees that you signed up for in Sign Up Genius. And I want you to only edit the committees that you've signed up for. So no cheating, no going over to somebody else's worksheets. The staff has pre-populated each worksheet with the information needed to make recommendations. Each worksheet has the same basic layout with a vacancies table, the current roster. You don't see the current roster, but you will see it when you log into your worksheet. It's going to have all the names and the positions of individuals that are currently on that particular committee. You're going to see the committee information, a list of those positions that need to be filled. And I'm asking you to please be sure to click on the charge space to the right of your Google Worksheets so you can see the charge, the specific instructions, and the positions that actually need to be filled for this upcoming term. It's important that you read that information. And although you may see a lot of blue lines, it's not necessarily that you have to fill all of these lines with members, chairs, vice chairs. I just gave some extra space because you are going to have some declines. And once you have a decline, you're going to need to fill that committee position with somebody else. As I said, the vacancies table should have enough rows, but feel free to add additional rows if needed. I don't think you're going to run out of space, but if you do, you can feel free to add another row. After Brad approves, you want to track that acceptance in the accepted column, and you'll receive an email when somebody actually accepts an appointment offer, and you're going to receive an email if they decline an appointment offer. And you want to put those up in your to the far right in the Google worksheet where it says accepted. You're either going to say yes, they did. If they declined, just simply say declined, and you'll know that you might need to have an additional person for that particular committee. All right, let's just go over a brief recap of the steps to take before making a recommendation. So to begin the process, the first thing you want to do, you want to review the volunteer list and any recommendations that you receive from the committee chairs. And all this information is going to be on Google for you. After you've identified an appointee, you want to check their eligibility. Remember, they cannot have served on a committee for 5 consecutive years, and they cannot have more than 3 committees, divisions, or sections that they are currently working on or volunteering on. After you've determined eligibility, then you can add the recommendation to your Google Drive worksheet, but you want to make sure that you put the person's full name, their email address, and institution on your Google worksheet. And I will recommend to the group, as I have done in the past, that you, Jenna, you may want to do this, schedule a few Zoom meetings to assure that you're not appointing the same people for different committees. This will curtail a lot of overlap. You want to make sure that you're recommending as many diverse groups of individuals as possible, and that you're not recommending the same person over and over for different committees, because we want to have individuals, as many individuals to have an opportunity to serve as possible. We always have more volunteers than we do spaces, so you want to make sure that you don't have overlap as much as possible. All right, now let's go over the actual appointment system. The preferred browser to access the appointment system is either Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. It's recommended that you use one of those. I'm going to send you the URL that you'll need to access the system, and that URL is located on the left of this slide. You're going to log in with your ALA web login. Typically, that's your ALA member ID number and your password. That's the unique password that you created. And like any other, password username, if you forgot it, just simply click on forget and enter your email address, and you'll be sent an email to reset it. After you log in, you want to click on click. And this is the first screen you're going to see. This is your starting point. This is what we call the home page. And you want to click on appointing officers in the upper left-hand corner. This is where you're going to see a list of the committees for which you are authorized to make appointments. If the committee list is incomplete, that hasn't happened in the past, but if you click on a list and say a person's email is missing, just simply let me know. But as I stated, I have not recalled doing this over the past 10 years, a list being incomplete. And again, you'll only have access to the committees you have been appointed to. You want to check to make sure that each of the committees you've been assigned to are available for you to access. And here is where you can view how many applicants there are for each one of the committees. This screen has a lot of information. Their current terms, as well as the number of members who will already be on the committee for the next term. And directly from this page under action in the upper right-hand corner, you can pull down the Excel report, which lists detailed information about each applicant. You click on volunteer export, located to the far right side of this, and you're going to get the desired Excel report for that particular committee. The Excel spreadsheet is going to list a lot of stuff. It's going to have the member's ID number, the first and last name, the committee, their committee position, their status applicant, their status date, their record history, who added them as an applicant, their demographics. So it's loaded with a lot of information, and I recommend that you pay attention to that and get familiar with all of the information that's enclosed in this Excel spreadsheet. There are also the 3 optional EDI questions. That's the gender, self-identity, and race. These questions were added to demonstrate ACRL's core to equity, diversity, and inclusion. It is not mandatory for applicants to answer the EDI questions, but they are there if they feel free, if they feel like answering them, if they feel comfortable with answering the questions. So you also want to pay attention to those answers as well. Because as I stated, it is one of the reasons, one of ACRL core commitments. Now, after this is the committee details, after selecting a committee, you will see the committee details. You can view the list of current members, their 2024-25 term, volunteers, proposed members, offers you have sent after Brad's approval, but they have not accepted or declined, and future members whose terms will start July 2025. You see at the top, you see where it says current members, volunteers, proposed members, appointed members, division volunteer list, add volunteer committee details. And under division volunteer list, this is where you can see ACR volunteers and the committees for which they have volunteered. If a member is appointed to a committee, that committee will no longer be listed under their name. And then you can click on volunteers to officially appoint volunteers to a committee. And I'll discuss that in more detail later. Please note that committees that are not accepting volunteers, they will not be listed. Proposed members, which is located in the center of the page. And again, that's once you've sent out an offer to an individual and they have not accepted the offer as of yet. And then under actions to the far right, you want to do several things before you decide to appoint a person. You want to view the history. You want to view the volunteer survey, because these two sections will allow you to view insightful details about an applicant and their history. So you want to take some time to review this information for each applicant before you decide to make a recommendation. All right. Now, at this point, we're talking about sending official offers. You would have received approval from Brad to appoint someone to a committee. After clicking on volunteers, you'll see the names of the members who have submitted their information to serve on the committee, and then appoint member. You should have already carefully reviewed a volunteer's application form before you make an appointment offer. You'll click on appoint member to make an official appointment offer. Let me say this, once you hit that click appoint member, you can't take it back. So make sure you are appointing the correct person that you desire to have appointed for this particular committee. And right under member information is blank here, but you will see all that information in the system. Now, there's a possibility that members may have duplicate listings on this screen if they volunteered more than once. So you just want to make sure that you're only sending the appointment offer one time and not twice. And this is what you're going to see when you prepare to appoint a person for a particular committee. As stated again, before you click on appoint this person, please, you want to check the appointment start date. The appointment start date should be July 2025. You want to make sure that you are appointing the person to the correct position. So I believe the default is member. So if you want to appoint a chair, you're going to have to click on that drop down arrow to the far right and select chair. If it's a vice chair, you want to click on the drop down arrow and select vice chair. But again, you want to make sure that you are appointing the people for the correct term and the correct type and the correct length. Now, most appointments for members are 2-year appointments, but the default is 1 year, so you need to change that 1 to 2. There is an exception for certain committees. Whoever has budget and finance, you need to be very careful in this area because the budget and finance committee members have a 4-year term. So you'll need to change that appointment length from 1 to 4. And as I stated once again, once you hit this, appoint this person, the offer cannot be edited, and the appointment consent form is automatically emailed to the volunteer, and the volunteer is automatically listed under proposed members. If you make an error, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Just send the person an email and let them know to discard the previous email and resend an email with the correct terms and a position. And then to finalize the appointment, as I stated, the appointee must accept or decline the offer via the link in the email. And you're going to be copied on every email that you send out to the person, whether they accept the offer or whether they decline the offer. Do I have any questions so far, or can we keep moving? Okay, I'm going to keep moving.
Wait, I think
Elois,
Brad had.
You need
I
me to go back?
I just had a question. I know
Yes.
that I'm like the last check before this step happens. So am I working off of those spreadsheets essentially and then let
Yes.
them know? Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're going to simply be working off the spreadsheets in Google Drive, Brad.
Thank you.
So
Thank
all
you.
you're going to be doing is saying yes, 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 approve, 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 decline, decline. This
Gotcha.
is primarily for the appointments committee members.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. Viewing proposed members. After appointing a volunteer, you will see a list of proposed members. And appointed volunteers remain on the proposed members list until they officially accept the appointment offer. And when they accept, as I stated, their names are going to automatically appear on the official committee rosters link from the ACRL's Director of Leadership on the website. And the ACR members can log into the ACR website to view the full roster contact information. Now, there's something different this year as opposed to how it has been in the past. This year and moving forward, unless something else changes, people can only see the committee roster, the full details of the committees that they are actually a member of. If they're not a member of the committee, they will not see all of the other details like the person's job affiliation, email address. If a person declines an offer, this is just the way the system is set up, they're going to stay in the proposed members. All right. Now, adding new volunteers. This is something you may have to do because occasionally somebody did not complete the volunteer form for whatever reason. It could be that they just really actually forgot the deadline is tomorrow and they forgot to fill out the form, or there was some type of circumstances that actually prevented them from doing so. So there are two ways to add a member to the volunteer list. Now, the preferred method is to ask the person to fill out the volunteer form so that we can have that information. But if they're unable to complete the form, you can simply add them by searching by their name. You want to search by their name, and you see you have fields such as city, state, country, zip, or postal code, because you're going to have some members who have the same first name and same last name. So you may have to put in a city or state because you want to make sure you are appointing the correct person, as I stated, because a lot of times you may have some members with the same first and last name. So before you hit that send button, add volunteer and add, you may need to do a search if it's a common name. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And I know this is a lot of information. I don't expect you to retain all of this in this one session. I'm going to get questions, and I'm accustomed to that. There's no such thing as a silly question, and especially before you start sending out offers. If you're apprehensive or uncertain about anything, go ahead, feel free to shoot me an email and ask along. Okay. Now, if a person is lapsed, the system is going to tell you that their membership has expired. And if you want to recommend somebody because you really think they would be a good candidate for this particular committee, but their membership has expired, you can just simply send me an email and I'll send them a renewal notification telling them that we would like to recommend them for a committee, but we need them to actually renew their membership. And once they do that, or based upon their response, I will send you an email back. I will say, hey, this individual stated they're going to renew their membership. They've renewed it. So you have the liberty to go ahead and send the appointment offer to them. If they decide they don't want to renew for whatever reason, we don't want that to happen, but we can move on to another candidate. But it's in red, so you can't miss it. Big, bold, red letters, membership expired. Now, to reappoint somebody, this is a little different, because to reappoint a current committee member for an additional term, you're going to go under current members. And that's going to be located in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. You don't see it on here because it has their names and stuff, and we couldn't display that during this recording. But it's going to be located in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. And you're going to simply follow the same standard appointment process. You're going to click on that person's name, make sure that they are current member, meets the necessary criteria again, because you want to check to see how many years they've already served on that particular committee. It cannot be 5 consecutive years, and you want to make sure that they are not serving on more than 3 committees. And you can view their applicant's history again by clicking on View History under Actions on the far right side. And then if you decide to appoint the person, you're simply going to change their term to start July the 1st, 2025. It's a possibility. You got to watch out with these dates because we've had it happen in the past. If somebody's term goes past June 30th, 2025, there's no need to appoint them because they're going to be on the committee next year. So pay attention to the terms that the people are serving on the committee. If they're serving on the committee and their term does not end until June 30th, 2026, you don't want to appoint that person because they're already serving. Their term won't end until next year. Does that make sense? And I know mistakes can happen, but as I stated, you want to make sure that you're mindful of the years and you're paying attention to the years, especially if you desire to reappoint somebody. Okay, let's talk about declines because they do happen for whatever reason. Occasionally, an appointment offer will be declined. And when someone declines, you're going to receive an email notification. And it will say, you see at the top of this email notification, it says appointment declined in big bold letters. And you're going to just simply work with Brad to see if a replacement needs to be made for that particular person. The new member is appointed. You want to make sure that you update your Google Drive worksheet with this new member, but you also want to keep that declined on the worksheet as well, because we need all of that data. Now, I know you've had to absorb a lot of information in this session. I can't repeat it enough. I'm available here to answer any questions. And then Jenna, who is the chair, worked on the committee last year. She is available as well. So let's just do a quick recap of the essentials that I've discussed in this session. I'm going to send you the entire volunteer list next week of March 3rd. I hope everybody has had an opportunity to ensure that you have access to the Google Drive worksheets. Ask me if you have any questions regarding the appointments process. And last but not least, do not, I repeat, do not send any appointment offers until after Brad has approved them.
I've told
And
Louis
another,
to say that 17 times. I just want you all to be aware of that.
what did you say, Brad?
I said, I told you to say that 17 times during this session. So,
And this is another thing that I want to say. Each person has their own Google Drive worksheets, and you have the committees that you chose to send appointment offers to. They're one of the biggest committees that people sign up for is any division level committee. So, say for instance, you are working on budget and finance, but you see somebody who volunteered for any division level committee, and you believe that they would be an extremely important asset to the budget and finance committee. You have the liberty to pull that name from the any division level committee and send an appointment offer to them to serve on the budget and finance committee. But what I don't want you to do is to try to send an appointment offer for any division level committee. You didn't sign up. That's not a committee. So if you send an appointment offer to somebody and it says any division level committee, that's going to confuse them because that's not an actual committee. They're just saying in general, whatever committee you want me on, I'm willing to work on that committee. All right. Does anybody have any questions? I want to thank you all so much for taking time out of your schedule to participate in this training. As I stated, I know you are going to have questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. So please feel free to ask if you have questions while we're still in this room. We have about 15 more minutes left. Please feel free to ask those questions.
I have one quick question, Lois,
Yes.
that I remember from last year. Um, so we do the worksheet, it goes, and we have a list of folks. Let's say one of those folks declines. Do we then have to, if we need to sub someone in, send back to Brad our potential sub before we send them an offer?
Yes, you
Or should
have
we
to.
just have extra people to begin with in the first place?
Me personally, I would recommend that you have some backups
Yeah.
because it's inevitable. You are going to have some declines. So I would have some backup individuals in case I get some declines. And if somebody declines, you're just gonna, whoever declines, your backup person, you just send that name to Brad for him to approve that additional individual. And that's why it's important to pay attention in your Google worksheets to the far right. It's going to say how many people are actually needed for those particular committees. Like you may need a chair, a vice chair, and I may have said this committee needs at least 2 additional members. You are not limited to that, but that is the minimum amount of members that are needed to fulfill the charge and the composition of that particular committee.
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate, it's not a demand certainly, but from having been in your position with Lois to get this committee going, we needed extras. We needed extras to the extras actually. So just assume that having some extra names available right off the bat will help you out essentially when I will ask for additional names. You can just assume
And,
that's going to happen.
right. And as I stated, the timeline is not carved in stone. If we need some flexibility, that is fine, because the rosters will not flip over until July 1st. We just like to have everything done ahead of time, in case there are some hiccups down the road that we need to deal with. Any questions, comments, concerns, apprehensions?
Maybe all of the above, but until I get in there, it's going to be hard to know what questions I have. But I do appreciate this training and overview. That helps.
And as I stated, I'm going to send the link to this recording so that you can have it as a reference point. But I can't emphasize enough, there's no such thing as a silly question. You haven't done this before except for Jenna, and she's only done it one time. And you can't expect someone to remember everything that they've done one time a year ago. So,
Highly recommended a label in your inbox for appointment committee emails or a subfolder for them because you're going to have to search to see if somebody accept like every time you want to make sure that the lowest is make sure that they actually accepted. And so having that label is invaluable.
Yes, and I would like to say this, prepare yourselves for a lot of emails. I mean, a lot, because you're sending out a lot of appointment offers. And there may be times I said, give the individuals at least 1 week. You know, if they haven't accepted an appointment offer after a week, it could be the email went to their spam. So you might need to resend the offer to them. You just simply go into the system, find their name, and there's a button that says resend. So if you have not heard from an individual after a week, you want to resend the offer. As I stated, sometimes emails go to spam, and a lot of, universities have, security mechanisms that block certain emails.
I have a question. So we work on our worksheet for the various committees that we signed up for. We identify the people that we think would be good. We send that to Brad. He signs off on it. And then we send off the appointment
You're
letters.
not going to send your worksheet to Brad. You just let Brad know that your worksheet, whatever committee you're working on, you can just say, "Hi, Brad. I have finished my recommendations for the
Okay.
Budget and Finance Committee. Can you look it over and let me know if you approve it?"
Okay. And then he approves it. So then I send out the appointment stuff. Um, what do we do when people, or maybe this never happens, but what if we just get no response at all?
From it, you can let me know if you sent several emails and the person has not responded, you can let me know and I can make some phone calls. I've done it in the past.
Okay.
Call the committee person and say, hey, the appointments committee sent you an appointment offer on this date, and we just need you to either accept or to decline the appointment so we'll know how to proceed.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Don't be shy. And I know you might not have a lot of questions until you actually go into the system and start doing this. But as I stated, before you send anything off, if you're apprehensive about something, you're uncertain about it, please feel free to send me an email before you hit that send button.
Yeah. So I just want to reiterate, from what I said earlier at the beginning, just my deepest sincerest thanks for the work that you're about to commence on and to do. And I will do my best to be responsive. If for some reason you send it to me and you do not hear back from me in 24 hours, please feel free to bug me again. I have my assistant helping me with ACRL stuff to make sure things don't slip through the cracks, but please feel free to bug me if you don't hear from me within 24 hours. Other than that, I mean, thank you. I mean, really, that's the the biggest thing I could do right now. Just thanks.
Yes. As I stated, we can't thank you enough. We couldn't do this without our volunteers. So we really appreciate your time. We know that you all have full-time jobs and you're volunteering to do this, and it is greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. No other questions or comments or concerns? Brad, do you want to wrap us up with a final nuggets for the group?
Go team. Let the fun commence next week. And Elois is an amazing individual. She will be your best friend. And I can't say enough kind things about her. She's what enables us to do this work. So please, kudos to Elois as well. But other than that, y'all, thank you so much. And we'll get started next week.
Okay. All right, everyone. We'll have a great rest of the afternoon.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.